everybody. I'm Ryan. I'm being joined by.
Also, Ryan.
Hey, it's that time of the year, Ryan. It's summertime. Grab the shorts, grab the beach ball, put on some sunscreen, and guess what? You go to the play. Let's go to the play.
Let's do it.
Throw everyone in the back of the car, drive down to the play, and just enjoy it. And this play comes to us from Georgia.
All right. So we got a pass that's incomplete. Looks like the headlines is pointing, presumably to who they said was a receiver in the area, because we have the quarterback who appears to somewhat throw it away. He's certainly laterally outside of the free blocking zone. Uh, the pass does not reach the line of scrimmage. However, looks like headlines is pointing at the receiver to let the white hat know, hey, I had someone in the area. Do you see anything different, Ryan?
No, you summed up this play remarkably well. Thank you. We get deep into discussion. Just want to say a couple of things and define a couple of things. In high school football, the white hat is keen on the quarterback. So the white hat is not going to see where this ball goes, and that's why this type of play can be difficult, because it's a mosaic, not one official sees the whole thing. And so the white hat needs help from a wing, like you were talking about him. That's why the wing was pointing to an eligible receiver, because the white hat is looking at the quarterback. Now, the white hat may be able to see something out of the corner of an eye or something like that, but generally the white hat's focused on that quarterback. Two, you mentioned free blocking zone. Free blocking zone has been around for a while in the NFHS rules book. And when they put in a rule that the quarterback could throw the ball away if they get out of the, at other levels is called the pocket or the tackle box. Instead of adding that, they just use the free blocking zone. It's basically the same thing. And we don't need to get too in depth in that for all those non-officials watching, because I'm sure non-officials are just glued to this play. So the free that's why we say the free blocking zone, but it's really the tackle box. And so the last thing I want to say before we get into discussion, the quarterback is throwing the ball away. I don't think there's any
of course.
doubt about
there's
that.
no attempt. There's no attempt to complete a pass.
The quarterback is throwing the ball away. Now the question is, are we going to call this a foul for intentional grounding, or since there was someone close by in the same zip code, are we going to not throw a flag?
Yeah. One thing I want to do is I want to highlight the headlines, great communication on the field, because he is immediately letting his white hat know, I have somebody in the area. Because the worst thing is if you're a white hat and you're looking for that information and you're just getting a blank everything, and then you have to come and have a conversation. It's always good to have a conversation to get things right, but it's even better if we don't have to have a conversation, because we're all on the same page. So I would say great job by the headlines of making their view known. With that being said, do I share that same view? That's really borderline to sort of not close to me. With that, headlines is my primary position. So I tend to give high school, athletes a pretty wide variety. If there's anybody sort of in the area, I want to give that ability for the quarterback to throw it away, because usually the quarterback's trying to avoid getting hit, and I don't want a bunch of hits, that are sort of unnecessary and ungermane to the game like that. So I try to give a big, broad sort of definition of what's in the area and communicate that to the white hat. But this one, I think it's a little far outside of it, and I'm probably telling the white hat, I don't have anything. I don't have anybody in the area there. Ryan, your thoughts?
No, that's great stuff, and I totally agree. I think roughing the passer at the high school level is a very harsh foul. I'm not saying we need to get rid of it, but it's a very harsh foul. God bless these kids, and there's some really good quarterbacks that play in the high school level, but most of them are just running for their life. These aren't Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen out there. Like I said, they're giving their all, but a lot of times they're just trying to live for the next play, and to then on top of that throw an intentional ground. It seems a little harsh. With that being said, So this play has really taught me a lot about myself, and this has nothing to do with the rules book or mechanics, but I'm going to share it anyway. On the field, I don't want to throw flags, and I'm looking for excuses not to. I mean, I will if I have to, but I want the kids to determine the game. I don't want to have to determine the game. But as a content creator on YouTube, I love fouls, and I want to throw a foul. So I think in this play, the content creator side of me is like, that's a foul. They should have thrown a foul. But again, we have the luxury of seeing the entire play. Whereas, again, on the field, it's generally going to be the wing sees where the ball goes. The white hat's going to be watching the quarterback. It's a little different. After seeing the whole thing, the quarterback threw the ball away, trying to save a loss of yardage. It is intentional grounding. I think I'm with you. If they just thought that guy was close, then I'm fine. Good call. Let's go. But looking at it from afar, on video, to me, that was intentional grounding.
Yeah, and as when I am a white hat, I'm never gonna, if my headlines or my other side guys, they tell me, hey, I had somebody, then guess what? They had somebody, and that's what we're going with. And there is, to a certain extent, want to be consistent across a game. But if we do have a game that is out of sight, and we have a running clock or something, and the team that is losing, are you a little more flexible with what that is? Because you want to get pace of play, you want to prevent injuries, you want to do all those things. Share a personal story. Ryan and I were doing a game. I was headlines. He was white hat. This was last year, and we had a running clock situation, 40 or 50 points. And the team that was behind rolled out, threw a ball. No one in the area, didn't get to the line of scrimmage. And so I go to Ryan, sort of, hey, Ryan, that didn't get to the line of scrimmage. Ryan goes, yeah, I know we're gonna keep on pace of play here, and I think that you do have to have some flexibility. Like I said, you need to be very consistent about safety issues, and you need to be very consistent about things that provide probable unfair advantages, and you want to be consistent game to game, and but you also want to make sure that we're allowing the players to not get a big hit just because they're so worried about losing 15 yards, that they get a big unnecessary hit within reason, right?
Yeah.
Within reason. There's
Yeah.
reason to everything
Yeah.
we're saying. And I'm not saying don't call blatantly obvious things, but I'm saying with the intentional grounding and are they in the area, the context of are they in the area is very situationally dependent in my view.
And I'm glad it is, because I think that gives us leeway that maybe in this game that crew was like, nah, that's not intentional grounding, and you had a story, and I think in that game you also were a crew saver. I think you saved me from a bad penalty enforcement, so thank you. But yeah, in that game, I just didn't think we needed to call intentional grounding on a team that's losing by 40 points. The kid lived to play another down. Great, let's go. Incomplete pass anyway. It's the defense still won the play. Let's go. A couple of years before that, I was a wing. Player threw the ball. Nobody close. I go to the white hat, and the white hat was Bruce. He's the president of the EFOA, and I go, Bruce, you were the closest receiver to that pass. And yes, I tell bad jokes during the game. My favorite is when they announce the 50-50 raffle ticket number. I will then get on the mic, the radio, and I'll say, "Oh man, I was one digit off." I say that every time. No one has ever laughed, but I'm not going to stop. So I said, "You're the closest receiver," but before you can throw a flag, the back judge comes in and goes, "Yeah, but that's because the quarterback threw to the right and the receiver went to the left." Like, oh, okay, whatever. I don't care. That's our call. Let's go. And so we didn't have a flag. And we kept going.
And these conversations bring up a point when it comes to intentional grounding. This is something that needs to be discussed amongst the crew prior to the start of the game. In your pregame, you need to talk about not only what are we considering, because it needs to be the same on both sides. You can't have one person give, a giant in the area and the next person be very strict. That's going to cause problems in the game. And then you need to talk about how you're going to communicate that. If you have radios, are you going to talk on the radio, and get on the radio and say, hey, I had number 5 in the area. Are you going to point? Are you going to do both? These are all important things to have those conversations before the game. And let us know in the comments, how do you have those conversations? What do you communicate with? And what's in the area to you, when it comes to those intentional grounding calls.
Yeah. And do you, as a crew, do you each buy a 50-50 ticket, or do you pool your money and buy like a bunch of 50-50 tickets? Uh, I would have to, if I do a list video on my least favorite fouls, I think intentional grounding may be one or two. It is one of my least favorite fouls. I'm not saying it needs to change. I'm not saying we don't call it. I'm just saying I just at the high school level, it's so hard. It's just a harsh foul. Again, I'll call it. I have no problems. But Ryan, I'm a giver. And so I feel a lot, and I just feel for these kids on these really tough intentional grounding calls. So
Yeah,
I agree with
yeah.
everything you've said in this
Yeah,
video.
some of these teams don't have a great line, maybe playing overmatched, and so that quarterback, how many times do we want to get him hit? And again, maybe that's something for rules and sort of things to look at. Providing some additional protections, but we can use what we have available with us within the rule set to make sure that we're having plays that are impactful to the game. When we're throwing the fouls.
And then it always tests my memory with the signal. Is it one hand or is it two? Intentional grounding. So it's two. That's the other thing. Freaks me out. Okay, we've sounded off. Now it's your turn. Please join the discussion. Tell us what you think of this play in the comment section below. We have the best commenters in the business, so please, we want to hear from you. And speaking of hearing, Ryan, I heard a lot of great stuff from you. I really appreciate it. And hopefully we can work another game this season, and you can tell me it was intentional grounding. I can not throw the flag. That's the beauty of Ryan and Ryan out there on the field. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time, and we'll leave you with the fifth down.
Wow, what a
And 2 minutes, 32 seconds left to go, and you got third and forever, obviously, and Moeller using that timeout. And they're